Have you ever stopped and wondered what actually makes a room, well, a room? Turns out, there's this secret language of numbers and rules that shapes every single space we live and work in. And these aren't just suggestions. They're like an invisible blueprint for our entire world, making sure things are not just safe, but actually comfortable.
So that brings up a wild question, right? Could the very room you're in right now actually be illegally small? The answer to that is buried in a really important document that governs pretty much all construction in India. Okay, let's get into it. So our guide for this whole journey is the National Building Code of India, and we're looking at the 2016 edition. You can think of it as the ultimate rulebook for any architect or engineer in the country.
And listen, if you're studying for competitive exams like GATE or UPSC, this thing isn't just important, it's basically the Bible. Knowing these standards is absolutely non-negotiable. They're what make a building safe and, fundamentally livable.
All right, let's start our little blueprint tour right where it matters most, inside our homes. What are the absolute bare minimums required for the rooms we use every single day?
First things first, we need to get this definition down, a habitable room. So the code says this is any space you use for living, sleeping, eating, or cooking. And what's super important here is what's not on that list. Your bathroom, a storeroom, or the garage, they don't count. This little distinction is the key to a lot of the rules we're about to look at.
Okay, now here it is, the master chart from the NBC. And yeah, I know, it looks like a whole lot of numbers, but don't worry about it. We're going to pull out the most important figures you really need to know, starting with that habitable hob.
So let's zero in on this number right here, 9.5 square meters. That is the absolute minimum floor area for any one habitable room, like your main bedroom or a small living room. If it's any smaller than this, it literally just doesn't qualify as living space. Simple as that. But hey, the total area isn't the whole story, is it? The room has to actually be useful. And that's where this second number comes into play, 2.4 meters. That's the minimum width of a habitable room. It's a clever rule to stop people from building, long, skinny, useless rooms just to hit that area number.
And this is a perfect example of how the code's logic works. It's all about function. So a full bathroom with a toilet needs at least 3 square meters. But if it's just a water closet on its own, a tiny 1.1 square meters is enough. See? It all comes down to what the space is actually for.
Okay, let's zoom out from the rooms themselves and look at the parts of the building that are literally designed to keep us safe. These are the numbers meant to protect you from things like floods and falls.
Right, 2 supercritical safety features here. The plinth height, that's the base the building sits on, has to be at least 450 millimeters high to keep rainwater out. And the parapet wall, that low wall on a roof or balcony, has to be at least 1.05 meters. Why? To stop people from falling off. These are simple numbers, but they have life-saving jobs.
Now, this is where the code gets really smart. Check this out. It scales based on how the building is used. For a small row house, a 0.75-meter staircase is fine. But in an apartment building with way more people, it bumps up to 1 meter. Then you get to a hospital, where you need to move stretchers and equipment, and it becomes a wide 1.5 meters. The logic is crystal clear. The more people, the wider the escape route needs to be.
A building isn't just a box of rooms, right? It's a whole system. So let's look at 3 things that make it actually work: parking, light, and fresh air. So before we can even talk about parking numbers, you have to get this term, equivalent car space, or ECS. Now, this isn't just the little rectangle your car sits in. It includes all the extra room you need to actually drive around, open your doors, and get in and out of the spot. And look at how that ECS number changes depending on the type of parking. An open-air spot is the most efficient, needing 23 square meters. If you move it under the building on stilts, you need more room for all the columns, so it jumps to 28. Then, take it down into a basement with all the ramps and tight turns, and it swells up to 32 square meters for every single car.
So here's a really easy way to remember this, especially for an exam. Just think, the more complex the parking structure gets, from open to covered to basement, the more space it's going to need for each car. It's a really direct relationship.
And what about getting some sunshine and fresh air? Well, the rule of thumb here is beautifully simple. The total open area of your windows should be at least 1/10 of the room's floor area. It's a basic ratio that makes sure every livable room isn't just a dark box.
Okay, you've seen the blueprints, you've learned the numbers. Let's do a quick final inspection with a little 3-question pop quiz just to make sure it all stuck. You ready?
All right, first question. We talked about how the total area isn't enough. The room has to be functional. So what is that minimum width? Is it A, 2.1, B, 2.4, C, 3.0, or D, 1.8 meters? Go on, have a think.
And the correct answer is B, 2.4 meters. That's that magic number that stops rooms from becoming long, useless corridors. Nice one if you got that. Question 2, all about parking. Now, remember that memory tip we just talked about? More complexity means more space. So what's the ECS for the most complex kind, basement parking? You've got A, 18, B, 23, C, 28, or D, 32 square meters. Got your answer?
And the answer is D, 32 square meters. That number accounts for the car itself, plus all the space for driving around the ramps and pillars in a tricky basement structure. All right, final question. This one is all about protecting the building right from the ground up. What's that minimum height for the plinth to keep the building dry? Is it A, 150, B, 300, C, 450, or D, 600 millimeters? Lock it in. The correct answer is C, 450 millimeters. It's such a crucial dimension for the long-term health of any building. Awesome job on the quiz.
So, there you have it. We've decoded some of those hidden numbers that make our buildings not just safe, but actually functional and good to live in. Which leaves just one final question, and this one's for you. Take a look around the room you're in. Now that you know the rules of the game, how does your own space measure up? You might be a little surprised at what you find.